Hi, I'm Dr. Sean Cooney, and this is your Dental Minute Professional Edition. Today, we'll be doing a review of the Spec 3 Curing Light by Coltene. Alright, so we've got the unit here, and it's very small, very compact, very well balanced, where I need to hold it in order to make sure that I'm properly positioned to press the button. It's not top heavy, it's not bottom heavy, it's perfect. We've got a removable tip, and we've also got two buttons. This is the power button, it's also the cure button, and this is the mode button. We'll go over those in just a minute here. As far as the tips are concerned, we've got three tips. We've got the regular clear short turbo tip, and that's got 8 millimeters of diameter at the end. We've got a little bit longer one, and this is coated in black so that light isn't leaking through. And then we've got the standard tip, which has an 11 millimeter diameter at the end. Now these two tips I got from the manufacturer, but they do not come with the unit, but they are extra tips that are available. And one last thing, this tip, this turbo tip, has a 45-degree angle, and the standard tip is closer to 90. I'd say it's probably about 80, 85 degrees, which makes this 90-degree tip better at getting back behind molars and into tight spaces. So there is definitely a use for this tip, although I don't think you can use this with 3K mode. So a word on disinfecting. Because the tip is interchangeable and can come out, there is a space where liquid can get down, and you just need to make sure that your disinfecting liquid doesn't get down in there, or else you'll damage it. Same with the buttons, they can't get any liquid around them. And so I'll usually just turn it upside down after we've wiped it down and just let it sit until the disinfectant has evaporated all the way, and then we're good to go. I also want to mention the battery life. The battery life on this thing will do 310-second cures, which is plenty of time for me to get through a day or two and not have to charge it. So I can keep this charging base, and while it's not big, you know, it's nice not to have to keep this and the big long cord in my operatories. I can keep this somewhere else. We can plug it in at the end of the day when we leave and have a fully charged curing light that'll last me through the whole next day. So let's talk about modes. So we've got our buttons here. We've got our power button and our cure button, and we've got our modes button. Now, holding the mode button down will switch between standard mode and 3K mode. Standard mode is highlighted in green, and you can press the button again without holding it to go from 5 to 10 to 15 seconds. And you can just keep cycling through those. Again, I'll hold it down, and then I can cycle in 3K mode 1, 2, or 3 second cure times. Press it one more time, and that takes me to the third mode, which is ortho mode. Now, standard mode is just like any other mode that you're used to from any other curing light that you've probably used recently. It's got a 1600 milliwatt per centimeter squared output of light, which is usually what composites are tested at in the lab, and that's what the specifications that the manufacturers state. They're usually based on that standard mode. Turbo mode, or 3K mode, is exactly like it sounds. It's 3K, 3000 milliwatts per centimeter squared. Now, that is quite the output, and not only do you have to be careful with the heat that generates, but you also have to be careful with the fact that some light cured materials may not be compatible with that, and that some light cured materials, while compatible, require different curing times than you're used to. So while most will probably require a 1 second curing time for 2 millimeters of thickness, you may find that some require 2 or even 3 seconds of cure time at that thickness, greater thicknesses, or lesser thicknesses. So it's important to call your manufacturer so that you know how your light cure material is going to react to that higher output if you decide to use it. Ortho mode is fantastic because it lights 2 seconds on, 1 second off, 2 seconds on, 1 second off. And what that allows you to do is, if you're an orthodontist or a general dentist who places ortho brackets, you can move between brackets and cure and get them tacked into place very well. I don't place brackets, and I love Ortho Mode. In fact, I wish it were called Interval Mode, because it's used, in my practice, it's used for more than just orthodontics. The first thing that I use it for is curing multiple, either class 5 restorations. If I've got just a bunch of little restorations in a row, I can cure those quickly before I get any sulcular fluid contaminating my space. I can also use it to cure bonding agent very quickly with consecutive preps, because I can move back and forth without having to press the button. So my favorite thing by far has got to be the fact that I can use this to cure light cured cement under my porcelain crowns. And normally when I would light cure, I would hold it, then I'd have to move, then I'd have to find the button again if I had to turn, and I'd have to find the button again or make sure that my hand stayed on that button. Now all I have to do is push the button once and I can twirl the whole thing in my hands and, you know, move it all around however I want without having to worry about searching for that button again. It really has made my crown cementation much more efficient and much more enjoyable, quite honestly. So let's go over some pros and cons, other than the ones we've talked about. One of the major cons is that when you go to turn the unit on, it boots for 3 to 4 seconds before you can do anything. So you push the power button and you have to wait. Now that does one of two things. It either makes my assistant have to remember and add an extra step to turn it on before she hands it to me so that I can use it right away. Or she hands it to me and I have to turn it on, and then I have to remember, hey, you got to wait until you hear the beep and then you can start going. Well, that kind of defeats the purpose of having a 1 second cure. Now, granted, once the unit's on, it's on for, 4 or 5 minutes before it turns off, so you only have to go through that once. But if I'm curing bonding agent, I need to get the composite in there, and that 3 seconds just cost me, the ability to do that. That's a pretty big flaw. What I'd like to see is I'd like to see them take this and make a motion sensitive or motion sensor inside, so that when it's picked up, it turns on. So it detects that it's been picked up. And then it would be booted by the time it got to my hands. That would be the best. Another con is the fact that it generates some heat, and you just have to be careful. It doesn't generate enough heat to do any damage to the tooth. I'm sure if there was a 10-second version of this and it was 10 consecutive seconds, you probably could. But for the 1, 2, and 3 second intervals that this curing light operates on, I haven't found, especially on unanesthetized patients that I've done small, surface fillings on, I haven't found that they've complained at all about any heat. Pros are definitely the curing time. I mean, that goes without saying, but 1, 2, 3 seconds really makes a big difference. In fact, my assistant, the first time that we used this, in fact, the first couple of times that we used it, she was still getting all of her other stuff ready because she's used to having 10 seconds to get ready for the next step. And here I am sitting with the curing light out, waiting to be handed off, and she's still working on other things. So, it kind of took both of us by surprise just how quick this thing is compared to other curing lights. Comes in really handy on kids and in situations where you just got to get that cure quick because of hemostasis or other moisture issues. It just really, really comes in handy there. The other is Ortho Mode, and Ortho Mode is fantastic for crowns. And it's just one of my favorite things, and I will just never stop being amazed at how much quicker I can get done with those crowns. So I hope you enjoyed this review. It's nice, always nice to have a clinician who's used something. I've used this for a couple weeks now, daily and multiple times per day. And it's always nice to get feedback from someone who's actually used it and not just from brochures or a sales pitch. So hope you appreciated this. As always, thanks for watching.